This is the John Hallett podcast powered by ClearSky Training. If you're training with us in Castle Rock, Colorado, this is the thinking behind what we do at Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness. Let's get into this one. Martial arts isn't math, how we really measure progress. This is good for any martial artist. This is really specific to our gym here in Castle Rock. You know, I find one thing people really want is numbers, right? How long into black belt is a very common one. I'm totally better than X belt ahead of me. There's another big one. How many classes until I'm good? You know, when am I going to be able to defend myself?
I'm still working on it.
Is a big one. You know, why is that person ahead of me? You know, martial arts doesn't work like math. It's not 2 + 2 = black belt, or I did 7 classes and I'm ready to protect myself. You know, you've got to pressure test things. You know, it's mindset, it's humility, it's who you become when things don't go your way. And things don't go your way a lot in self-defense. You got to be able to flow within that fight. You know, it's who you become when things, right, are really tough outside of the gym. That's a, you know, big one of just being, you know, it's the number one. I don't have time to start martial arts in the onset, never mind once you're into something, of letting, you know, all those things get in the way. In this episode, I'm going to break down how real progress is measured at RMSDF and inside the ClearSky system, and why chasing stripes or belts isn't, all right, instead of skill, is the fastest way to stall your entire growth. You know, you just got to train, guys. It's sometimes just putting your head down and grinding it out. Yep. You know, what you'll learn here, why belt color is not the real scoreboard, the difference between attendance and advancement, why confidence builds slowly and then all at once, the 3 real markers of progress in self-defense, how comparison quietly kills long-term development, what black belt actually means, and why most people misunderstand it. You know, and it's that whole I mean, John, we just get sidetracked. You know, comparison. People look on social media.
Right? Why am I not caught up with this, that, and it's like,
everything?
Take some classes and train.
Hope the grid crashes. Social media. But, you know, even regardless, we see it in, like, people compare, well, this person, that person, and it can get in your way of you progressing on your journey, you know, up through the ranks. You know, the big idea behind this podcast, you don't rise because you showed up 100 times. You rise because how you train those 100 times. Under stress, you don't calculate, you default. So the real question isn't, how fast am I ranking up? It's, am I defaulting to better decisions under progress? That's the real progress that we're looking for. And it's something you say a lot, right? You know, decisions. Right.
Keep trying, keep going, you know, and train it each and every time. The solution to everything is just show up.
Absolutely.
Train, class, walk in that door, get everything done. And the other thing is that when I'm there, I see a lot of newer students. They're in a few months, they're showing up consistently, but they start wondering if they're actually getting better. Remember when I did that to you?
Yeah.
I remember. I remember asking that, am I any better? And you're like, well,
a little. You
get
a little better. But you're thinking, that person's thinking ginormous kind of progress, you know, like it's little, like a little better, better.
How should someone know they're progressing if it doesn't feel dramatic or obvious yet? I mean, that was really what I was asking you back in the day, right?
Yeah, that's where, you know, most people quit, because progress in martial arts doesn't feel exciting at first. It feels, you know, awkward. It feels slow.
My neck hurt. My neck hurt.
You know, sometimes it even feels worse before it feels better. You know, it's, you know, learning that stuff and being able to check your ego. There's just so much, you know, behind it, but people want to see giant progress. It's another thing with games and, you know, I'm talking like specifically like video games, especially people want, you know, I want to level up, and they just bait you in there. Right. And people are so conditioned to that type of thing in society that, you know, quick and easy. And
now they can pay to level up. I mean, they don't have to put in the work.
Yeah.
And then terrible world to live in, right?
Getting a medal for everything, you know, that you did. martial arts, and, people in the street don't care, you know, um, when you feel like you're getting better, you're panicking less, that's a big thing, that you're not freaking out, and thinking when somebody does a bear hug to you and you're there in this moment, like, I don't know the technique. Or what is the technique? If you just get a little bit better there, is a whole lot better. You might not feel like you're super skilled at it. You might not feel faster, but when something chaotic happens in a drill and your brain doesn't shut off, that's a little bit of progress. That's a huge thing. You know, when we make mistakes and recover instead of freezing, that's what we always say. Listen, you messed up, but great, keep going, because nobody on the street cares. Like, recognize that you made a mistake and able to just keep flowing through things. That's big things. When you get corrected and take it personally, that's progress.
That's the hard. That one's really hard.
It's another hard one. Like,
that's
hard. Not there.
Right.
And in martial arts, if it's not there, you're getting hit in the street. That's what you've got to be able to take that, and it stinks. Like, nobody likes being corrected, especially on something you think you're good at. Like, you think you've got this down.
And I put time into it, and there's still some refinement that can happen. Learning not to take it personally is tough. I remember once you said something to me, and you're like, Josh, I'm not yelling at you, man. I'm just telling you, like, we can correct this. And I was like, oh, that's how it's done, right?
It's a lot of times in the beginning, people feel like, I've got it, well, and maybe you don't quite have it like you think, or you would need to have it. Martial arts isn't about feeling impressive. It's about defaulting to a better decision under pressure. And that change happens quietly. It's slow, steady progress. Most people don't see it until one day they handle something and that used to overwhelm them. Then they realize, oh, wait a second, I think I've got this. We see that a lot of times in different drills, that like people are like, oh, whoa. And the look on their face after is awesome, because they're, oh, wait, I didn't even have to think about that one. Like, I just did that stuff. And that's, progress.
It's wonderful when you get there too. I've also noticed that, like, some students compare themselves to someone who started around the same time. I probably did it before too, or even someone who started after them. So what's the real danger of comparing your progress to someone else in martial arts?
Comparison is poison. It's like comparing to people on social media. And this person did this and they did that. We all do it, though. I mean, I remember being a white belt in Taekwondo and going, I can beat up all these red belts.
Like, I'm going to go ahead.
I'm way better than these guys. But, it was a bunch of 50-year-old guys, 40-year-old guys. Was the bulk of my class. There's only one other, I think, kid from Germany that was training with us for a while, that was on Nantucket Island. I was always comparing myself to the upper belts. It's, human nature.
Sure.
Because
I want to be like them at some point,
But, the big thing is you don't know, that other person's background. You don't know if they've wrestled for 6 years. You don't know if they train 3 times a week, and, you only train once a week over those 6 years. You don't know somebody's background. I mean, I used to train, like, another person that was on Nantucket Island was John Hallett. He was fantastic. He had so many martial arts. I remember training with him, and you're like, whoa, this guy's got all sorts of background, all sorts of little things that you've never seen before. But, the first time you spar with that person, you don't really know a lot of times. And you're like, whoa, you've got a lot of martial arts training. But more importantly, you don't know what they're fighting in their own life. That's a huge one. Martial arts progress isn't just physical, it's mental, it's emotional. My wife says that all the time, that, people are coming in to get their workout in, and they've got baggage, and they just want to work out sometimes. It's a hard thing. People are coming in, we have all that stuff. Somebody, his wife is terminal, somebody's, lost a friend. It's a big component of it to be able to turn it off. You know, people going through divorce and they come into martial arts looking for something.
Right.
You don't know their emotional well-being and everything else, and you're here comparing to them, and they've got, you know, their own battle.
Darn right.
Know, right. From, from anxiety to they're rebuilding their own confidence for whatever reason. You know, they're trying to prove something, you know, that's a ego check. You know, they're trying to heal something, people that have been attacked before, and just having hands on them is something. And you're over here going, well, they freaking out every time somebody bear hugs them or something like that. And you think they stink at it, but you know, they got headlocked and have some trauma there that they're working through.
Yeah.
You know, when we compare, you shift from internal growth to external validation. And that's where ego creeps in, like the big ego. You know, it's tough.
Always there.
You know, the only real comparison is after are you better than you were 6 months ago? That's the real comparison. If the answer is yes, you're winning, you know, just a little bit. I tell people to video themselves, you know, look at and compare, and you can see it yourself, because sometimes just seeing progress is really hard. You know, just watch yourself. You know, that's why athletes film themselves all the time. You know, if the answer is no, good. That means you need to adjust something. It's okay to go through that. You know, people plateau and you're not always making progress. You know, you just got to show up.
Yeah.
But comparing yourself to another student, that's just a distraction. Stay in your lane, train hard, suck less. You know, you got to let time do its job. And people, you know, have a real hard time with that. And it totally means something different all of the time, you know, as you go up and through everything. It's the whole, you know, mushin, no mind. You know, like, don't think. And, you know, it's something I said to my stepson before volleyball tryouts. I'm like, hey, remember, don't think. Well, actually, you have to think. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't think. Like, let your training go. Let your mind go and just play. Because if you're thinking when you're trying to do stuff, you can't think. No. There is no thinking. You know, in any sport, you just got to let it go.
Let time do its job. I like that statement. Let time do its job. I'm gonna start using it on everyone. Hey, let time do its job. Just keep training. I love that one.
People want martial arts to be linear. You know, we've got grades. You know, sports. You know, all about your stats. You know, fitness. You know, do I got a PR? And you know, that can be. You know, all of these things. Just people get caught up in it, and what it is. You know, martial arts teaches you patience. You know, and just slow, steady stuff. You know, growth isn't visible daily. You know, it's the big time. It's visible over time, seeing things happen.
Yeah, and that leads me to like thinking about black belts and stuff. And from the outside, people think black belt means that you've kind of made it. We've kind of talked about this in the past, like you've mastered everything. So I have a question becomes this: when someone earns black belt at our gym, what does that actually represent to you as an instructor?
You know, well, black belt doesn't mean mastery. You know, it means consistency. It means you stayed when it got boring. You stayed when it got hard. You stayed when life got complicated. That's probably maybe the hardest one. It means you can perform under pressure without falling apart. It means you can help someone else without ego. When someone earns a black belt here, I don't think they've arrived. All right. I think they're finally ready to take responsibility, ready to lead, ready to train at a higher level without chasing rank. That is probably the biggest one. Now you're ready for real training, is what we say in the martial arts, right? That you've got your black belt. Now the student is ready. It is not the end. Now you're actually ready. Now we're training. Right? And people do not get that at all from, you know, the movies, you name it, personal misconceptions of what a black belt is. You know, most people think the black belt is the finish line. It's not. You're just at the starting line. And that means, you know, more and more, to me, the higher and the older I get, you just started, you're just, I mean, I feel that way as a coach. We're doing a whole lot here, even with like things we've been saying and just slowing people down as I've been saying into our Peaceful Warrior program. You guys have lost the privilege of going fast. We are taking a giant hiatus. I'm like, hey,
that's all I had.
That's all you had was going fast. Yeah. All you had was spazzing out. And as Bill called it yesterday, which I really liked, I was calling it, you're just going glory Krav Maga. No resistance. The attacker doesn't want to get anywhere near you because you're windmilling in, so to speak. That's a great in living color, I think. And, you're throwing crazy knee strikes and nobody wants to get near you to give you a little bit of pressure testing. And, people aren't listening. Of like, hey guys, how did I get good? I went slow. I was telling the story to some classes yesterday that, look, I had guys come up to me after, I think it could have been the first one, first or second one of Krav Maga instructor training, that, man, I thought you sucked. I got to be honest with you. And I was like, okay. They're like, but man, when you turn it on, they thought I was slow. I don't know what they thought. But I try to do every move very deliberate to get it down instead of spazzing out, where people just can get way too caught up in that Krav Maga aggressive go, go, go.
Yeah.
And that's where something, I feel like I'm at the starting line sometimes over and over again as an instructor, that we're going like, and maybe even coming back like even more full circle to that martial arts mentality that I had at the beginning, and getting caught up in the Krav Maga. We want to train people to be, fight ready as quick as possible. And that's, teaching them to be aggressive. That's their best hope out on the street. But if you're really going to stay, you've got to slow it down. And people are there's like 1%, maybe if you want to be nice, say 5%, make 4 more percent of the black belts feel better. That they're getting it. Yeah. And able to kind of mix and match. Yeah. Because sometimes like, hey, you're being a spaz, I got to protect myself. Yeah. And you end up going fast, and you can kind of also get caught up into what everybody else is doing instead of reminding, like, hey, let's go slow. I mean, I've been saying it for decades. Like, ask the other guy to go slow. Yeah. That's up to you to say, hey, go a little slower. But when people it's the whole game, like, I'm better than you, and going fast and fast. It's, there's a lot to it.
To that speed of the technique for so long that it becomes almost alien to slow it down.
Yes, they're caught up. I keep saying they're caught up in beginner Krav Maga, maybe intermediate kind of stuff, and they're stuck in that lane, and they haven't been able to shift. And that's what I'm saying. We're just slowing it down. And as an instructor, I feel like I'm coming more back to the martial arts and that mindset, because people aren't getting is you can say it all you want. It's like a parent, and it's up to you, the individual, to listen. Like, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Yeah. We can say that, but unless people actually slow down. Yeah. So I'm going to go slower, and the joke is I'm going to order some shock collars for a few.
And how many times have we heard, oh, I thought I was going slow.
Oh my gosh.
I thought I was slowing down. I'm like, you've slowed down a little.
Yeah. I think one guy, I was like, that was the exact same speed.
So it's hard to realize, and you don't know it until you actually slow yourself
down. None
of
it's easy. Again, none of this stuff is easy, but that, back to black belt being the finish line. It's, it's not, it's the moment you realize how much you still don't know, and you're okay with that. Like, there's always, that's something you're never going to know enough. And that's where, I think we've got another podcast lined up on that, and some student discussion on, I need to learn more and more and more. If I learn another martial art, I'm going to be even better.
You're just starting all over from
black belt, you realize, you're not going to know everything in every single martial art, and you're okay with that. That's maturity. That's growth. And that's absolutely,
That's
that
actually
is
just
not
joining the
Josh.
show.
Josh is gross, but not that gross. All right. That's growth. That's where real martial arts begin, at black belt. We'll break it down for you guys here before he bites Josh.
He
He's
loves
such
me.
a little attack dog. He's a little
Please.
French bulldog. Sometimes he comes on the show, but a lot of times he doesn't.
Yeah, he's so dangerous.
So 5 signs you're improving. You panic less.
Okay.
You recover faster after mistakes. That's maybe people totally like check out.
I froze, right?
What did I do?
Yeah.
There's so much there.
Yeah.
You move without overthinking.
Okay, I got a problem there.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, don't think.
I do that a lot.
You accept feedback without ego. You train consistently, even when you don't feel like it.
Man, that's the toughest
Even
part.
like some of my best workouts, whether it's, martial arts, Krav Maga, whatever you want to call it, guys, fitness, some of my best workouts are when I don't feel like working out.
Yeah.
They're great. It's pushing yourself through those days. And I'm not saying, guys, that you have to go 100%. And people get locked in like, if I'm not going 100%, just going
move.
And just, again, going, hey, kind of pulled my hamstring the other day. I'm just taking it easy. Or, hey, I'm feeling a little tired.
Yeah. Listen to your body.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you do.
Just
some people have a problem and you might need a day off. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Right.
Why comparison is a trap. Someone training 3 times per week for 2 years for someone training once per week for 5 years. That belt might look similar. Skill won't. Progress isn't time. Progress is intensity times consistency times mindset.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one. I mean, I've had people in the gym. That's where we went. One of the many reasons we went to belts a number of years ago now, because we'd have people in the gym going, hey, I've been here for 5 years. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if they've come 5 times. And they're telling somebody, hey, blah, blah, blah. So awesome at this technique. Yeah, you never know. You've got to show up and, you're showing up, you're fooling around and your mind's not there.
Yeah.
You've got to
focus.
Not only show up, I mean, because you can be just going through the motion, so to speak, and you're not getting anything out of it. Your mind's disconnected. Everything else, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Black belt, isn't a finish line.
No.
Black belt means you finally understand how much you don't know. You're capable of helping others.
Yeah.
Right. You can coach a class, right? You can transfer that knowledge that you have. You can perform under pressure, right? You don't need validation. You don't need validation.
Yeah.
And that's it's a tough one. That's a tough one.
I mean, because some people really thrive on that sort of validation. When you get to the black belt, though, like getting the black belt is the validation that you've gotten there. Now is the time to train. But that's just how I think.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's gonna, think about things a little different. It makes sense in their head.
Yeah.
It's a lot to it. I mean, that's where I think, you're constantly evolving, and what it is. And that's where, what we're really trying to do is create somebody that's really good at defending themselves.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we want. And I've been saying it this week, and it's nothing that came this week or last month or last year. It's one thing for me, like people, I've been thinking about this for 4 or 5 years of like that martial arts side of things. And, again, you're like, well, I'm trying to run a business and you're trying to get people to feel that, even that whole, they feel like they can defend themselves and that whole trap. And I'm going, you know what? If somebody stays with that for 3 months and they leave, they're not going to have that aggressive side, that we've done in the past of going, we're just trying to keep them safer in the shortest amount of time. I'm done with that student. I want the student that's going to train for 6 months, a year. You want to get to black belt, you're training for 10 years, and we didn't go into numbers there because people get caught up in numbers there. Again, you might train 5 days a week and 7 days a week, and you're going to progress faster than somebody coming twice a week. It's totally different, but people want numbers, and I almost got rid of the numbers completely on our stuff. Our members can find that stuff, they know where to find it, but it's tough. I've been thinking about it a ton, and now I've just decided we're looking for somebody that really, really wants to defend themselves.
I love it.
And that's going to take a little bit of time. And, honestly, if they show up in my gym for 3 months or 6 months, and we kind of did did I say what Bill called it? Strip mall Krav Maga? Did I say that?
You said it was strip mall Krav Maga.
Bill, I was calling it Glory Krav Maga.
Strip mall Krav Maga.
And I was like, that's perfect, because that's like a belt factory karate place where you just get your belts. I want people that are going to be there. And back to honesty, if you train for 6 months, you're still going to suck.
You're going to need a lot of help.
And you get into the fight of your life. Let's hope that person has zero
skill.
Yeah. Do you really want to be able to defend yourself?
Right. With control.
So you're going, okay, we want to teach him aggressive, and that might get him out of it. But honestly, I want that student that wants to, maybe go a little slower and figure it out, because some people, they're just not able to slow it down. And that, that can become, like I said, it's like 1% of that, of people are that type of martial artist, that type of fighter that can do it. And that's where we're at, I think.
Slow drip decision making. I love what you've been giving us. So I like where we're at.
Anything I missed?
Flicking my ear, but I was going to.
Well, that's what you were saying in the last podcast, didn't you?
Yeah, go ahead, read the outro. Read the outro.
I should read?
Yeah.
I'm going to hit you in the groin.
I know.
So the mouse hand right in the groin.
Just read it.
Risk versus reward, Josh.
Don't hit me. I've been waiting all week to do that.
I'm going to wait till I don't want any video evidence of me smashing your face. I'll just be like, Josh fell down the stairs leaving the podcast. I don't know. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. If you want to go deeper on real-world self-defense, decision-making under stress, and responsible firearms training, everything we teach lives at ClearSky.training. ClearSky is where we break down the thinking behind self-defense, awareness, avoidance, judgment, legality, and decisive action when violence can't be avoided. If you're here in Castle Rock, Colorado, and want hands-on training, you're freaking out, Josh.
I'm just watching, just in case.
That philosophy is put into practice at Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness. Thanks for listening to the John Hallett podcast. Train more, suck less. If you guys were totally audio, Josh was just in the fetal position waiting for me to pummel him.
What?
Thanks a lot, guys.
God.
I think we're out. No, we're not.